Business Model Canvas Part 1. So this, we're going to be spending 3 of these sessions on Business Model Canvas, since it is such a large framework and such an important one. So today we'll be talking, I'll be giving an overview of what the Business Model Canvas is, how it's used, why it's useful, and then we'll be talking about 2 components of the Business Model Canvas: customer segments and value propositions. So what is it? Like I said before, it's a framework, and it's often used by lean startups to quickly define their business in order to validate or disprove assumptions made about the market and themselves. So what do I mean by lean startup? A lean startup essentially is a company that's getting up and running, that operates in such a way that the costs are fairly low and that they're not too committed to any one idea, such that they can quickly figure out what the best approach to a problem is. Not getting too attached to an idea or even to a technology is really important when starting a startup, just because, there's a good likelihood that your initial idea, almost a certainty really, that your initial idea is not what the end customer is going to want. Or maybe even that, the end customer you thought you would have is the one you have at the end of the process. Like who you define as your customer might change, and we'll actually be talking about that today. And it's composed of 9 key areas that a startup has to consider in order to effectively execute its goals. So these 9 areas are customer segments, value propositions, which again we'll be talking about today, revenue streams, channels, customer relationships, key activities, key resources, key partners, and cost structures. So there's a lot of pretty important areas, and each one of them really deserves its own space, its own time to talk about. So yeah, and they're quite interconnected. And often the only way to really understand a business framework, especially one so deeply involved, is by actually employing it in a startup, in a project.
I want to talk. Okay. He's just bored.
Or even in a case study, as we'll be doing today. So yeah. So the case study we'll be applying this framework to is Startup Inc. So imagine we're a team of new founders building Startup Inc. It's the most impressive up-and-coming startup in the consulting industry. And we'll be talking about consulting because it's really easy to talk about consulting. Basically, everybody understands it, especially the type of people that come to these webinars. So up to today, in this case study, we have developed a robust CRM. A CRM is a customer relations management tool. If you're not familiar, it's basically an app or a website that companies can use in order to communicate with their customers and to manage their customers within their business. So we've developed a robust CRM tool which connects mom and pop shops and small businesses with our team of experienced consultants. So that's kind of that's where we're initially going for our market. Rather than, going after large companies, we're going after small businesses. And so our challenge for this is to build out a proper business model. Any questions so far? Cool. And again, if you're not actively talking, please mute yourself. Yeah, because otherwise I have to go down and do it. All right, so customer segments. Customer segments, the kind of the questions you're trying to answer are: for whom are you creating value? What are the customer segments that are either paying, receiving, or deciding on your value proposition? Or rather, who are the groups of people? Because sorry, that's more of a definition of customer segment. So who are the people or groups of people that are paying, receiving, or deciding on your value proposition? Those are your customer segments. in essence, who are the different groups of customers and consumers. So with that, we're going to hop over to an Excel sheet and start just coming up with a list of all the different groups of people we might consider as customer segments, which is over here. Cool. So I'll start off with an example. We're developing a customer relations management tool, or we have one, and we're trying to help mom and pop shops with whatever their issues are. Small businesses in general, not necessarily family-owned ones. So what we want to do now is, we've identified those two groups. So, I'll write them down. Mom pop shops. And we have small businesses. I'm going to leave small businesses out because you can get a lot more specific with that. You can also get more specific with family-owned businesses. But I'll start here. So a description of this might be, small businesses owned by a single family, and they generally provide services or retail, like a general store, or maybe even, like Orkin is a pest control company. They're family owned, and even though they've grown a lot bigger, so that's kind of, you don't really want to call them a small business. Maybe when they're first starting, they're a good example. So they generally provide a service or retail, sometimes an actual good that they actually produce. And so specific needs, maybe one of their needs are managing their labor. When you're working with family, it's often difficult to have difficult conversations, or more difficult than it would be otherwise. So, labor management is one potential specific need. And these are things that, ideally you would actually know quite well. And you would have verified because, you're working with these people. These people, you talk to them. So I'll just leave it at labor management for now. What I'd like to do now is get some ideas from you all. So let's start with Alex. Do you have an idea of what a customer segment might be for our new startup?
Maybe students.
Okay, how so?
I'm a little confused, but I thought that might work.
No, it definitely could. But I kind of want to understand your own thinking. So how do we consider students a customer?
Well, they provide um, they provide a section of the market where they have specific needs, and you can kind of pinpoint those needs on a larger scale because most of them need the same things.
Okay. Yeah, so I definitely see how it is a segment. I guess my question is, in the context, excuse me, in the context of our consulting business, how are they a customer, potential customer?
I guess that might not be the best example, but it was just the first thing that came to my mind.
No worries. How about let's refine this. Let's say students starting companies. So maybe they're more in the tech industry, but they're still small businesses.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll just start off the description with mostly tech. But what else about this group of customers is important?
Social media driven.
Awesome. Anything else?
Um, those are two of the big points I feel for students.
Sure. And now let's talk about those specific needs. So, what might a student startup need that maybe a mom and pop shop that's been in town for 3 years doesn't?
Access to a platform in which they can brand themselves.
Okay. Yeah, because they are trying to get established. Anything else?
Um, money, for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. The thinking about like starting a company, especially starting a small business, often the way those things get started are with loans, going to a bank and asking
Mhm.
for money. So, and often when you're asking for that, you need credit. And students rarely have credit. So that's great. Awesome. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have an idea for a segment? All right. How about, oh, go ahead, Parth.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said that customer segments are the ones who are creating value. So how are mom and pop shops and students who are starting businesses the ones who are creating value for our startup? I'm a little confused in understanding what the customer segments are.
Yeah, my bad. So it's the other way around. It's we are creating value for them is the idea.
I see.
They certainly create value for someone else, hopefully.
Mhm.
Otherwise they might not be a great business. But the way we define customer segments for our business is groups of individuals or people that we are providing value to.
Okay, but why do they have to be businesses? Can they just be customers, like uh, say just students who are not thinking of starting companies?
Yeah, absolutely. So the only thing is, in the context of this, this exercise, Startup Inc., we're focusing on the consulting industry. So we could certainly provide consulting services to individuals, um, but in this hypothetical situation, we've begun by defining small businesses as are
See,
kind of the realm we're going into.
got it. Okay, thank you.
For sure. um Christine, do you have any ideas?
Um, do like on-campus orgs count? Like orgs that belong to the university,
Sure.
like ICC or SC, or like even the startup center.
For sure. So kind of for description, maybe they're subsidiaries of university. um what else should we know about them?
I'm not too familiar with on-campus orgs, honestly. But is there an overarching need that each one of them have, other than,
um
because like I feel like mainly everything's already being provided by the university, like a place to do whatever they need to do. They have their money provided by the university and students.
yeah, I would say from my experience working at one of these institutions, one of our specific needs would definitely be access to students. So like outreach and stuff. Um,
So would would it be like more efficient ways to outreach?
Sure, yeah. Because we're always, trying to cut down on how many hours it takes us to get how many people in. So effectiveness and efficiency. So efficiency in student outreach. Awesome. Let's get one more before moving on to the next part of the framework. Parth, go ahead.
Perhaps like bigger tech firms, they might also need consulting from time to time.
Okay.
Description, large business.
How would you define large business?
In terms of
Like employees, or actually
Oh,
in general,
like
how would you
1,000
define a large business?
1,000+ employees, maybe. Perhaps I want to say revenue, but that can vary.
Okay, so possibly defined by revenue.
Some large businesses may not be close to other large businesses.
Right, yeah.
Specific needs. Money.
How so?
I mean, all businesses need money, just based
Yeah,
on that.
right.
But large businesses less than small businesses. And I'm trying to think what their specific needs would be. Intellectual, human resource. They want to
Yeah.
get the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean, if you're operating with 1,000+ employees, hiring and managing those employees, I'm sure is an important need.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I lied, one more, and let's think smaller. Let's think, what is a business that you have been to, obviously before everything that happened, that, maybe these people aren't running the best that they can. How about Lauren? Okay, maybe not then. Gianna, you have any ideas?
So I'm not sure if this would work because it's not really like a small business, but maybe cable companies
Okay.
and more mainly like customer service wise for companies.
Okay. So when you say cable companies, are you talking about like Dish, or?
Yeah, kind of like AT&T or like Xfinity and stuff like that.
Okay. So what should we know about them?
So for I guess customer service could probably go under description. I think they probably have like a large customer service section, but the thing is it needs some kind of consultation for improvement. So that could go under like specific needs.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't say I've been pleased with my experiences with Dish or whoever else. Awesome, thank you. So I'm gonna throw one more in there, just so that we kind of have a more round out list, thinking, small. I'm gonna say record stores. So the record store in Davis is Armadillo Music. It's a really cool store. They have a great collection, and they're innovating in their own business. but you know, record sales aren't necessarily too high nowadays. So you know, maybe other record stores throughout the state or even the country could use help innovating. So you know, their main appeal is vinyl records, but sales have been down since like the 80s. They're making a little bit of a comeback, but it's not huge. So their specific need might be innovation, creating new revenue streams. So I guess in the future, what I would challenge you all to do, especially in your thought processes, is whenever you're posed with this question of, you know, who is my customer? Think in the context of things you know. Realistically, whatever business you all start in the future, or whatever business you're working on now, it's going to be something that you know well. Maybe this wasn't the best example. Maybe consulting wasn't the best example because you know you all are more technical. I don't know. I'd have to do a poll, and I don't have time for that. But you know, when you're working with things that you know, often you're going to know. Like I know record stores because I have a record player and I like music. And I know small businesses because I think that's something that's pretty important. So whenever you're identifying customer segments, think of things that you know, think of things that you work closely with. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go to the next section and start talking about value proposition. So there's a lot more questions to answer when it comes to value proposition. They are listed here, but the two that I really want to focus on are the first one and the last one. What is the value that you're creating for your customer, for whatever customer segment that we're talking about? And what are the products and or services that you create for your customer? So value proposition in more concrete terms is when you go to a customer, what are you proposing to them? Are you saying, I am going to build you a dam? Are you saying, I can sell you this, I don't know, hairbrush? What are you bringing to the table? That's your value proposition. And so we're going to go ahead and take these segments. Oh, actually, I'll put them over here. So generally, you're only going to have a couple of value propositions, and they might not be directly tied to your segments. So I'm actually going to separate these, put them over here. I'm putting this in this table just so that we're like aware of who we're talking about. So again, going back to the case study, so we're all ultra clear. We've developed a CRM and we're trying to connect small businesses with our team of consultants. And we've identified several customer segments, including student starting companies, on-campus organizations for universities, larger tech firms, cable companies, utilities in general, I guess you could say, and record stores as a really specific example. So I'm going to throw away the easy one and say, you know, we are delivering consulting services. And I'm throwing that one away because, well, besides the fact that it's obvious, I want you all to be thinking about more specifically, what does consulting bring? Why is consulting valuable to a potential customer? You know, if I'm a business and I go and hire Accenture, which is, I believe, the largest consulting firm, either way, it's really big. If I go and hire them, why am I hiring them? I can go to anyone else for consulting, but what value are they delivering to me? So is there anyone that is bursting at the seams to shout something out? Okay. Ashley, what value are we delivering?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. For consulting services, I think that we're giving customers advice, feedback, and honesty.
Awesome. Why is that valuable? I think that's good, but why is that valuable? Let's like pick on this more.
I feel like it's hard to find a safe space to talk about how you truly feel, and like consulting services provide that.
Okay. So maybe we're not super comfortable with talking about our issues as a company with our team for whatever reason, and I'm sure there's a lot of very, very legitimate ones. Sugan, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong.
No worries. I was thinking, would another value be like one-on-one time with like the individual?
With the consultant?
With the consultant.
Awesome. And why is that valuable?
Because usually the people are really busy, and trying to get like one-on-one time, it's more I guess it's more personal than just like, for instance, like over the computer or cell phone or in a group setting. You just get more time with the consultant about things you need to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah, I always prefer getting one-on-one feedback than in group settings, because even going back here, often that feedback is going to be more honest. All right. Are there any other products or services that we're offering or that we could offer? Fernando, do you have any ideas?
I guess they can provide like resources. I'm not like sure specifically like what resources, but I guess like consulting companies have more information that you might have, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm actually glad that you brought this one up. I was looking into the process of how do you start a small business in this state, in California, largely out of my own interest, but also, professional development. And there's not really great sources out there. Like the state has a website, but it's very difficult to navigate. So, if your job as a company is to, provide information in an efficient and effective way, then yeah, absolutely. One of the products we're offering is information.
Yeah.
Cool. So typically, your value proposition, you're going to want to phrase this in one or two sentences. We are offering this thing, this product or service to this group of people, which is valuable because, X, Y, Z. I'm not necessarily going to go through that process today, just because all of the information is here, and I'm sure you're all capable of composing 2 sentences. But to kind of review these 2 bits, which are very important at the outset of coming up with your business model canvas. Customer segments, at the end of the day, are the people or groups of people that you are providing value to. They're your future customers. That's probably the most clear-cut way that you can identify them. They also might not necessarily be your customers in the context that they're the ones paying you. Again, social media is a really good example of the consumers are a customer segment. We don't necessarily pay Facebook with money, but we pay them with our information. And so there's an exchange going on, like we talked about, I think 2 weeks ago. And then with our value proposition, that's very simply what we're giving to our customers. What are we pulling them in with? What is the incentive that we are offering? And so next time, we're going to be talking about 4 of these sections. We're going to be talking about revenue streams, customer relations, which is actually pretty relevant to this specific example, since that's kind of the whole business of CRM is customer relations, key activities, and key resources. So thank you. And if you have any questions, I will obviously be here. And be sure to check out the Plasma Demo Day in the Startup Week website. Share in the chat.
Wait, Dominique.
Yep.
Can everyone attend the Plasma Demo Day?
Yes. You just have to register. I believe the only reason we're registering people is because there is a fan favorite award. So in order to vote for that, we just need to check you in, basically.
Okay, thank you.
For sure.
Are you an entrepreneur major or I guess business?
I am a mechanical engineering, aerospace science and engineering double major, but I am working towards the technology management minor, which is like the closest thing we have to a business minor.
Okay. Are you participating in the Plasma demo yourself?
I will be there, but I don't have a company in that. I work for the Startup Center, so I don't think I would be allowed to go to the competition or be a part of the program. It's like conflict of interest.
Okay. Thank you.
For sure.
And so this I guess this same summer, the next part of this is next week.
Yes.
Okay. And then 2 weeks back, was there another part of this, or was it a different topic?
Yeah. So this webinar series started. So this is the 4th one. So it started 3 weeks ago then. But this is the first week we have been talking about the business model canvas. So in the past 3 weeks, we addressed how to identify a problem and how to kind of explore your problem area, which is kind of just like the ecosystem that whatever you're talking about exists in. But yeah, so this is the first week on business model canvas.
Cool. All right, thank you.
Thank you.